storm hit New York like a heartbreak you never saw coming, sheets of rain slamming against the windows of the rusty Anchor, turning the city lights into blurred halos of regret. I was elbow-deep in suds, scrubbing a pint glass that wouldn't come clean no matter how hard I tried. When he walked in, his coat shedding water like tears he refused to shed. In that split second, our eyes locked across the smoke-hazed room, and I knew. This alpha, with his perfect jaw and eyes like thunderclouds, was the kind who chased sugar-sweet omegas, the ones who giggled like champagne bubbles. Not broken-down bartenders like me, reeking of bourbon and bad decisions. I'd poured enough dreams into strangers' glasses over the years to know when one was about to shatter mine. My name's Jax Harlan, 28 going on ancient, an omega who'd long ago traded fairy tale heats for the steady burn of a 12-hour shift in this dive off Bleecker Street. The bar was my confessional, my battlefield. Walls scarred with initials from lovers who'd come and gone. Shelves lined with bottles that whispered promises I couldn't keep. Tonight, the crowd was thin. A couple of suits nursing their defeats at the end of the bar. A lone jazz crooner in the corner humming about lost loves. And now him, Riley Voss, though I didn't know his name yet. He shook off the rain like it was nothing, but the way his gaze lingered on me said otherwise. He slid onto a stool 3 seats down, close enough that I caught the faint spice of his cologne cutting through the stale air. Sandalwood and something sharper like ambition. "Whiskey neat," he said, voice low and smooth as aged oak, those blue eyes flicking up to meet mine without apology. I nodded, grabbing the bottle of my house pour. Nothing fancy, just the stuff that burned going down and lingered like a ghost. As I slid the glass over, our fingers brushed, and damn if a spark didn't jump between us, hot and uninvited. Omegas like me were supposed to melt under an alpha's touch, all soft size and yielding heat, but I just felt the old walls slam up higher, my pulse a traitor thundering in my ears. Riley sipped slow, watching me over the rim like I was the puzzle he couldn't solve. "Rough night?" he asked, tilting his head toward the window where lightning cracked the sky open. I snorted, wiping down the bar with a rag that had seen better days. "Every night's rough in this city. What about you? Look like you own half of Manhattan. Why slum it here?" He chuckled, a sound that rumbled deep in his chest, sending an unwelcome shiver down my spine. Turns out, he did own half of it, or at least his family's real estate empire did. Riley Voss, 30 and climbing, heir to Voss Properties, the kind of alpha who summered in the Hamptons and wintered in boardrooms, dating models who smelled like vanilla and victory. But me, I was the punchline. Grew up in a crumbling walk-up in Brooklyn. Parents who loved harder than they could afford. Until Dad's heart gave out when I was 16 and Mom chased pills to forget. I'd bounced through foster homes, learned to suppress my omega sent with suppressants that left me hollow, and landed here at the rusty Anchor 5 years ago, slinging drinks to pay for community college classes I never finished. Whiskey and regret. That's my cologne, baby, earned one shattered glass at a time. Riley leaned in closer, his alpha presence wrapping around me like smoke, making my skin prickle despite the blockers humming in my veins. "You smell like trouble," he murmured, nose twitching just a fraction. I froze. Suppressants were supposed to mask it all. The sweet undercurrent that screamed omega. But in the heat of the bar, with his gaze stripping me bare, I wondered if he could taste the lie. The night wore on, rain pounding like a drumbeat to our tentative conversation. He talked about deals gone south, a recent breakup with some candy-sweet omega who'd bolted for a richer alpha, leaving him questioning what he really wanted. I shared scraps, nothing too deep, just enough to keep him buying rounds. By last call, the bar emptied, leaving us in a bubble of quiet, the neon open sign flickering like a dying heartbeat. "Come on," he said, standing and offering a hand that dwarfed mine. "Let me drive you home. Can't have you walking in this." I hesitated, the smart part of me screaming to say no, but the lonely part, the part that craved a touch that didn't demand perfection, won out. His town car idled curbside, a sleek black beast that screamed money, and as we slid into the leather seats, the divider up, the air thickened with unspoken heat. His thigh pressed against mine in the confined space, and I swear I heard my resolve crack. "Why me?" I asked, voice rougher than the gravel under the tires. Riley turned, his hand ghosting my knee, sending fire licking up my leg. "Because you're real, not some polished fantasy. You smell like you've lived, Jax. Like a story I want to read cover to cover." Lies, I thought, but his lips crashed into mine before I could argue, tasting of whiskey and want, his alpha growl vibrating through me as he pulled me closer. The kiss was a storm unto itself, fierce, devouring, his hands tangling in my hair while mine fisted his coat. For the first time in years, the suppressants faltered, my true scent blooming faint and wild, like rain-soaked earth after a drought. We tumbled into my tiny apartment above a laundromat, clothes shedding like old skin, his body a map of hard lines and soft promises against my lean frame. He was all alpha, broad shoulders pinning me to the mattress, teeth grazing my neck where my gland pulsed traitorously, but gentle too, whispering my name like a prayer as he mapped every scar, every tremble. Sweet as candy, he breathed against my skin, and I laughed, bitter and broken, because I knew I wasn't, not even close. Dawn crept in gray and unforgiving, finding us tangled in sheets that smelled of us both, his arm heavy across my waist. But as he stirred, eyes clearing to meet mine, I saw the flicker, the polite smile that said he'd tasted the regret and found it sour. He left with a kiss on my forehead and a promise to call, but the phone stayed silent for 3 days. I threw myself into shifts, pouring shots for heartbroken souls who mirrored my own, the bar's jukebox crooning about love's cruel jokes. On the 4th night, the door swung open, and there he was again, but not alone. Trailing him was a vision Lena, his ex, all golden curls and jasmine perfume. The perfect Omega sweetheart he described. She clung to his arm, laughing that bubbly laugh, while he shot me an apologetic glance that cut deeper than any knife. My hand shook as I poured his usual, the whiskey sloshing over the rim. Double, he mouthed, but I just nodded, throat tight, turning away to hide the burn in my eyes. Word travels fast in a city like this. By week's end, the bar buzzed with whispers. Riley Voss back with his ex, the one who'd run off but come crawling back after her sugar daddy dried up. I served them that Friday, her ordering Cosmos with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, him avoiding mine like the plague. But late, after she powder-roomed her way to oblivion, he cornered me in the stockroom, the air thick with crates of bourbon and betrayal. "It's not what you think," he growled, backing me against the wall, his heat pressing close. "She's using me, Jax. Family pressure. But you're under my skin." His mouth claimed mine again, desperate and devouring, hands roaming like he could erase the days apart with touch alone. I shoved him back, chest heaving, the scent of my hurt mingling with the dust. "Then why her? Why the candy when you know I'm whiskey? Burns going down, leaves you wrecked." He winced, running a hand through his hair, looking every bit the lost boy under the alpha facade. "Because they expect it. Sweet, compliant, the kind that fits the Voss mold. But with you, God, Jax, you make me want to burn it all down." We collided again, slower this time, a tangle of need and fear, his knot swelling as he took me against the shelves, bottles rattling like applause. It was reckless, raw, the kind of loving that leaves marks you wear like badges. But regrets have a way of catching up. 2 weeks blurred into a haze of stolen nights. Him sneaking in after board meetings, me clocking out early to meet him in shadowed alleys or his penthouse overlooking the Hudson. He called me his secret vice, the Omega who tasted like rebellion, and for a while I believed we could outrun the world. Until the heat hit me like a freight train, suppressants failing under the strain of his constant presence. I locked myself in my apartment, fever raging, body aching for an alpha who wasn't mine to claim. He found me anyway, banging on the door at midnight, voice hoarse with worry. "Jax, open up. Damn it. I can smell you from the street." I cracked the door, sweat slick and shaking, and he barreled in, eyes darkening to midnight as my scent flooded the room. Unmasked, potent, a siren's call laced with desperation. "Riley?" I gasped, collapsing against him, the world narrowing to his touch, his growl, the way he stripped me bare and worshipped every inch. His knot locked us together for hours, his bites marking my neck in promises he swore to keep, whispering how my whiskey regret was sweeter than any candy, how he'd fight his family, his world, for this. Dawn brought clarity and consequences. His phone buzzed relentlessly. His father, the Voss patriarch, demanding he seal the deal with Lena for the good of the empire. We dressed in silence, the afterglow shattered. "I can't do this halfway," I said, voice steady despite the ache. "I'm not your dirty little secret, Riley. I'm all in or nothing." He pulled me close, forehead to mine, breath mingling. "Then give me time. I'll fix it." But time's a thief in New York, and 2 days later, the tabloids screamed it. Voss heir engaged to socialite sweetheart. Lena's photo beamed beside his, all teeth and triumph, while I stared at my reflection in the bar mirror, smelling sharper of regret than ever. The rusty anchor became my prison that week, every clink of glass a reminder of what I'd lost. Patrons chattered about the engagement party at the plaza, how Riley looked every inch the golden boy. I worked doubles, numbing the pain with black coffee and forced smiles, until closing one night when the door chimed and in walked not Riley, but his sister, Alara Voss, sharp as a stiletto in her red dress, eyes like his but colder. "You're Jax," she said, sliding onto my stool without invitation. The one who's got my brother tied in knots. I poured her a gin, neat, bracing for the takedown. But she surprised me, leaning in with a conspirator's smile. He's miserable, you know. Father's forcing this farce, but Riley's threatening to walk. Says he can't breathe without you. Her words cracked something open in me. Hope, fragile as a raindrop. Why tell me? She shrugged, sipping slow. Because family's not just blood. And you? You smell like the kind of trouble we Vasses need more of. She left a card, her private line, and vanished into the night, leaving me with a spark I thought I'd drowned. That night, I texted Riley for the first time since the heat. If you want whiskey, come get it. But no more games. His reply came instant. On my way. Forever this time. He arrived soaked again, storm raging outside like fate's own soundtrack. We didn't speak at first, just collided in the doorway, his coat hitting the floor as he lifted me, legs wrapping his waist, mouths fusing in a kiss that tasted of salt and salvation. I called it off. He panted against my lips, carrying me to the bed. Told them all, Lena, father, the board. You're it, Jax. Sweet or sour, regret and all. We made love like it was the end of the world. Slow, then frantic, his alpha claiming me fully, not deep and binding. My omega scent wrapping us in a cocoon of us. But the world doesn't yield easy. The fallout hit like a tidal wave. Headlines branding Riley the reckless heir, his father cutting him off, shares plummeting. He moved into my walk-up, trading penthouse views for laundromat hums, learning to pour a decent whiskey while I watched him unravel the empire from within, quiet boardroom coups, alliances with unlikely allies like Alara. We fought too. The kind that leaves bruises on the soul, me pushing him away when doubt crept in, him growling apologies into my neck until I believed. One night, after a screaming match about trust, he dropped to one knee in our cramped kitchen, ring simple silver, eyes shining. Marry me, Jax. Let's make our own sweet, whiskey-flavored, regret-proof. Tears blurred my vision as I pulled him up, kissing him fierce. Yes, but only if you promise to like it bitter sometimes. The wedding was small, rooftop in Brooklyn, rain holding off just long enough for vows that echoed our hook. Storms we'd weather together. Alara stood witness, smirking as she caught the bouquet, while the city sprawled below, indifferent and alive. In the end, love wasn't about perfection or candy scents. It was choosing the burn, the regret that forged something unbreakable. And as Riley kissed me under the stars, his hand on my swelling belly, our future, sweet as it was unexpected, I knew we'd tasted the truest flavor of all. The months blurred into a rhythm we'd carved from chaos. Riley's days spent rebuilding Voss properties on his terms. No more puppet strings from a father who'd softened just enough to attend our wedding, eyes misty as he walked me down that makeshift aisle. Me? I kept the bar, but lighter now, shifts ending with his texts lighting up my phone. Home soon. Save me a pour. Our apartment swelled with life, bookshelves groaning under design tomes he'd salvaged. My old jazz records spinning lazy evenings where we'd dance slow. His hands splayed protective over the gentle curve of my belly. At 29 weeks, the baby kicked like a fighter. A little omega or alpha we hadn't scented yet, but already fierce. One evening, as autumn painted the leaves gold outside our window, Riley came home late, tie loosened, carrying takeout from that hole-in-the-wall dim sum spot we loved. Rough day? I asked, rubbing my back as I eased onto the couch, the weight of pregnancy turning every move into a negotiation. He nodded, dropping the bags and kneeling before me, hands framing my bump like it was the eighth wonder. Father's pushing for reconciliation. Full reintegration if I toe the line on the next merger. His voice held that old edge, the one that said the empire still whispered temptations. I threaded fingers through his hair, tugging gently. And you? What's the whiskey saying tonight? He looked up, blue eyes stormy but clear. That I chose us. Every damn time. We ate cross-legged on the floor, laughing over spilled sauce and baby names. Jasper for a boy, echoing my lost dad. Eloan for a girl, after his wild child mother. But beneath the domestic glow, tension simmered. Lena hadn't faded quietly. Whispers reached the bar of her circling old allies, painting Riley as the villain who jilted her for that rough trade bartender. One slow Tuesday, she sauntered in during my shift, elegant as ever in a sheath dress that hugged curves I refused to envy. Her omega scent blooming floral and accusatory. Jax? She purred, perching on a stool like she owned it. Heard the happy news. Congrats on the knot and bun. Venom laced her honey, eyes flicking to my belly with something sharper than pity. I poured her water, no booze for the likes of her on my watch, leaning on the bar to meet her gaze level. What do you want, Lena? Closure speech? I've got regulars waiting. She laughed, low and brittle. Just curious. What makes you so special? He always chased the sweet ones, me, the models before. You're practical. Does he even know how to handle the real you when the heat fades? Her words landed like barbs, stirring doubts I'd buried deep. That night, Riley found me staring at the ceiling, his hand seeking mine in the dark. "Talk to me," he murmured, pulling me into his chest, heartbeat steady against my ear. I spilled it all, Lena's visit, the fear that I was the regret he'd wake up to, baby or no. He held me tighter, voice fierce. "She's poison because she lost. You're the antidote, raw, real, the only one who's ever seen me break and stayed to rebuild." We made love soft that night, his touches reverent over my changing body, not swelling gentle as he whispered devotions into my skin. Winter crept in, snow blanketing the city in hush, our world shrinking to doctor's visits and nursery prep. Tiny onesies folded neat, a crib Riley assembled with more curses than screws. But the merger loomed, a beast his father wielded like a club, demanding Riley's full commitment or risk tanking the legacy. Boardroom battles spilled into our home, late nights with Riley pacing, phone glued to his ear, growling concessions that chipped at his soul. "It's for us," he'd say, collapsing beside me, but I saw the toll, the shadows under his eyes, the way his alpha protectiveness turned inward, fraying. Then the heat struck early. 32 weeks. Doctor's warning be damned. My body betraying me with a fever that hit like lightning. I woke drenched, scent exploding unchecked, every nerve screaming for him. Riley was there in seconds, scooping me up, his own heat sinking in that primal pull, alpha instincts overriding exhaustion. "Easy, love," he soothed, stripping us both in our bed, cool sheets of balm against fire. He took me slow, not locking deep as waves crashed over us, his bite sealing claims that echoed our first night. But midway, pain lanced sharp, not pleasure but warning, and I gasped, clutching him. "The baby, Riley, something's wrong." Panic etched his face as he bundled me into the car, tires slicing slush to the ER, his hand vice-tight on mine. Monitors beeped frantic, doctors swarming in white coats, words like preterm labor and bed rest blurring into terror. They stabilized me. Shots to mature the baby's lungs, IVs dripping calm, but the scare cracked us open. In the sterile room, Riley curled beside me on the narrow bed, whispering apologies into my hair. I pushed too hard. The stress. "God, Jax, if I lose you both." I silenced him with a kiss, salt-tanged and sure. "We're fighters. Like the kid. Now rest, we've got a merger with life to win." Recovery stretched weeks, me sidelined to home, Riley cutting hours to shadow my every need. Foot rubs, midnight cravings for pickles and ice cream, stories read aloud from dog-eared paperbacks. Alara visited, bearing gourmet care packages and intel. Father's bluffing on the merger. Lena's stirring the pot, leaking stories to the press about Riley's instability. But we fortified, me learning boardroom lingo over his shoulder, him mastering baby burp cloths like a pro. Spring thawed the city as my belly rounded full, kicks turning somersaults, and one evening, as cherry blossoms dusted the park below, Riley knelt again. Not for a ring, but a vow renewed. "I love you, whiskey and all. Regrets? Only that I didn't find you sooner." The birth came fierce on a humid June dawn, labor ripping through me like a storm, Riley's hand crushed in mine as I roared our son into the world. Elias Voss Harlan, 7 pounds of wrinkled fury, sent a perfect blend of our wilds, whiskey warm with a candy undersweet. In that hospital glow, fatherhood softened Riley's edges, his eyes awash as he cradled our boy, whispering, "He's got your fight, Jax." Our sweet rebellion. We brought him home to balloons from Alara and a nursery painted stormy blue. Nights a blur of feeds and cries. Days of wonder where Riley's empire bowed to diaper changes. But shadows lingered. Father's reconciliation call came midsummer, voice gruff over speaker. "Grandsons of Voss, time to come back, son. Merge the families proper." Riley glanced at me, Elias nursing content at my chest, and laughed. "Free, unbroken. Family's right here, Dad. Whiskey, candy, and all the regret that made us." He hung up, pulling us close, and in that tangle of limbs and love, I tasted the ending we'd earned. Not perfect, but profoundly ours. A testament that the sweetest bonds are forged in the burn. Elias changed everything, his tiny fists waving like flags of surrender to the chaos we'd built. At 3 months, he was a chubby-cheeked tyrant, demanding feeds at dawn and smiles that cracked our exhaustion wide open. Riley, ever the alpha provider, juggled board calls from the rocking chair, one hand cradling our son while the other sketched property flips that honored the city's forgotten corners. Affordable lofts in the Bronx, not just Hampton's escapes. "For him," he'd say, kissing Elias's downy head, then mine. "So he grows up knowing home isn't a price tag." Me? I eased back to the bar part-time, the the rhythm of pores grounding me, but now with stories of bottle warmers and first coups to share with the regulars, who ribbed Riley good-naturedly when he popped in for lunch runs. Lena's ghost, though, refused to fade. Fall brought paparazzi flashes outside our brownstone. Snaps of Riley pushing the stroller, me trailing with coffee, headlines twisting it into Voss Air's slumming scandal. She fueled it, anonymous tips to tabloids painting me as the gold-digging Omega who trapped him post-breakup. One crisp October morning, as leaves crunched underfoot in Washington Square Park, she appeared bundled in cashmere, accidentally jogging our path. "Family outing?" she cooed, eyes on Elias like a hawk. Riley stiffened beside me, arms snaking protective around my waist. "Lena, keep walking." But she didn't, stepping closer, perfume cloying. "He's beautiful." Voss through and through. Shame about the complications. Her gaze raked me, lingering on the faded bond mark at my neck, and I felt the old insecurity flare. Whiskey versus her eternal candy. Elias fussed, sensing tension, and I scooped him up, scenting him calm while Riley faced her down. "We're done, Lena. Yours done. Find your own life." She smirked, unfazed. "Oh, I have. But Riley, Daddy Voss whispers you'll crack, merge or bust. When you do, remember, sweet always wins." She jogged off, but her words burrowed, festering. That night, after tucking Elias in, Riley found me at the kitchen table, staring at a manila envelope slipped under our door. Press clippings, anonymous, detailing Lena's tell-all interview set for tomorrow. Tales of my manipulative heats, Riley's downward spiral. Fury etched his face as he crumpled it, but I saw the doubt flicker, the Empire's pull, the fear of failing our son. "She's bluffing," he growled, but his voice wavered. We argued then, voices low to spare the baby. Me accusing him of one foot in our world, one in his old. Him snapping that protecting us meant playing the game. "I can't lose you to her lies, Jax." It escalated, words like shrapnel, until he stormed out into the night, door slamming like a gunshot. Hours ticked by, city sirens wailing distant, my texts unanswered. Panic clawed, visions of him at her door, seeking closure in weakness. When he returned at 3 a.m., soaked from a run through Central Park, eyes red-rimmed, I met him at the threshold, heart in throat. "Tell me you didn't," I whispered, and he crushed me close, shaking. "God, no." I ran until I remembered, "You're my anchor, Jax. Not the boardroom, not her." We collapsed onto the couch, his head in my lap, confession spilling. How father's calls preyed on his alpha guilt, provider instincts twisted into chains. "But Elias, you're my north." I stroked his hair, tears mingling. "Then fight like we did at the start." Whiskey burns clean. Dawn brought resolve. Riley called a press conference that afternoon, unscripted, raw, him at a podium in our living room, live-streamed to the world. "My family," he began, Elias on his hip, me beside, hand linked. "Isn't what the headlines sell. It's this messy, real, born of choices that scare the hell out of you but make you whole." He eviscerated the rumors, outed Lena's vendetta without naming, then turned to me, voice cracking. "Jax taught me love isn't sweet perfection. It's the regret you learn from, the burn that warms you through storms. We're building something true. Join us or get out of the way." The feed cut to Cheers Online, shares skyrocketing not for mergers but authenticity. Fallout rippled. Father called, gruff approval masked as critique. Boys got spine. While Alara texted champagne emojis, plotting her own Voss shake-up. Lena's interview aired to crickets, her credibility torched. But peace was fleeting. Winter holidays loomed. Father's annual gala, a minefield invitation we debated over mulled wine. "Go," I urged, Elias teething on a wooden ring. "Show them we're unbreakable." Riley hesitated, then nodded, dressing sharp but slipping my old bar rag into his pocket like a talisman. The gala was a glittering viper pit, chandeliers dripping crystal over tuxes and gowns, air thick with champagne and calculated laughs. Riley navigated it like a pro, Elias home with a sitter, me waiting with takeout and nerves. Midnight texts buzzed. Father cornered me, offered full control if I ditched the distractions. My reply flew. "Distractions? Tell him we're your strength." His next, "Done. Toasting to us now." But an hour later the call came, his voice tight. "Lena's here." Crashed it. Stirring shit with the board. I grabbed keys, hailing a cab through snow-swept streets, heart pounding. The plaza loomed opulent, doormen waving me up to the ballroom where strings swelled and eyes turned. There she was, draped on father's arm like a trophy, whispering to suited wolves circling Riley. He spotted me across the sea, disheveled in jeans and leather jacket, smelling of home, and his face lit, breaking from the pack to meet me halfway. "Jax," he breathed, pulling me into a waltz amid gasps, ignoring the stares. You came. Always. We spun slow, his hand firm at my waist, the room fading to our bubble. But Lena approached, glass in hand, smile serpentine. Slumming it at the ball? Bold. Riley's grip tightened. He's the only reason I'm here. Father loomed then, silver-haired and stern, eyeing me like yesterday's news. Son. A word. They stepped aside, murmurs tense, and I waited, pulse racing, until Riley returned. Jaw set, but eyes alight. Told him. Merge on my terms, or lose me forever. He blinked. Cheers erupted as midnight struck, confetti raining, but our kiss drowned it, fierce, claiming, right there on the floor. Father approached post-clink, extending a hand to me gruffly. Harlan, welcome to the fold properly. It wasn't warmth, but it was start. We left early, snow falling soft, hailing a cab back to our boy, the city twinkling approval. Spring bloomed with Elias's first steps, wobbly toward me in the park, Riley filming with tears blurring the lens. The merger sealed fair, Voss Properties pivoting to inclusive builds, Lena fading to irrelevance. And as summer heat returned, our second heat synced sweet. Not deep in our bed, Elias napping safe. I knew. Regrets weren't chains, but the forge of our unbreakable suite. Elias's toddler tyranny peaked at 2, endless, YS and sticky fingerprints on every surface. His hybrid sent a mischievous tease that had neighborhood alphas cooing and omegas like me chuckling at the mirror of our chaos. Riley thrived in fatherhood's trenches, trading dawn patrols for playground pushes, his once-starched suits now rumpled with applesauce stains. Look at us, he'd grin, scooping Elias for airplane spins in our sunlit living room. From whiskey shots to juice boxes, the brownstone we'd bought. Modest by Voss standards, but ours, echoed with laughter, walls adorned with Elias's finger paint masterpieces and framed bar napkins from our first night, inked with Riley's scrawled number. But empires don't rest. Father's health faltered that fall. A mild stroke during a tense negotiation, landing him in Mount Sinai with monitors beeping like accusations. Riley rushed to his side, me trailing with Elias in tow, the sterile halls a stark contrast to our warm nest. He's asking for you, the nurse said, and Riley entered alone first, emerging hours later hollow-eyed. Regrets, he murmured in the waiting room, Elias asleep on my lap, says he pushed too hard, lost mom young, didn't want me making the same mistakes, but now, wants me to take the reins fully. I squeezed his hand, scenting calm. Your call, love. We're solid either way. He chose half measures, interim CEO, restructuring Voss to balance legacy with heart, projects like community bars in underserved hoods nodding to my roots. Father recovered slow, grudging visits turning to playdates where he'd bounce Elias on his knee, gruff tales of old New York softening his growl. Boys got your fire, Harlan, he'd grunt, and I'd nod. The bridge building brick by Whiskey Warm Brick. Alara, ever the wild card, stepped up as COO, her sharp wit slicing through boardroom BS, texting me victory selfies amid champagne toasts. Winter holidays healed old wounds that year, Thanksgiving at the brownstone, table groaning under turkey and my mom's pie recipe, father at the head with a cane but smile genuine. To family, he toasted, glass raised to Riley and me entwined, Elias smearing cranberry on his high chair. But mid-feast, the doorbell chimed, and there stood Lena. Uninvited, cheeks flushed from cold or something stronger, eyes glassy. Heard about the prodigal, she slurred, swaying. Riley rose, blocking the door. Not tonight, Lena. Go home. She laughed, bitter. Home? You stole mine. Paraded your gutter romance while I picked up the pieces. Drama unfolded fast. Her shoving past, glass shattering as she lunged for the table, accusations flying like confetti gone wrong. He promised me forever. You seduced him with your desperate heat. Elias wailed, father barking orders to security he'd quietly called. But I stepped forward, voice steel. Enough. You lost him because you never had him, not his heart. Now leave, before you break more than glass. She deflated, tears streaking mascara. Father's hand on her shoulder gentle as he escorted her out. Girls lost, but harmless now. The night salvaged with carols and cocoa. But Riley held me close after, whispering, You're my hero, Jax. Always. Spring brought renewal. Elias's third birthday, a park picnic. Balloons tangling in breeze. Friends from the bar mingling with Voss elites in a beautiful mash. But whispers reached me at work. A rival developer sniffing Voss weaknesses. Poaching deals with father's old cronies. Riley brushed it off, market noise. But late nights returned, his alpha tension coiling tight. One stormy evening, as thunder rattled windows, he came home defeated. merger collapsing under sabotage. They're saying I'm soft, distracted by domestic bliss. I pulled him to bed, hands mapping his stress-knotted back. Soft? You're steel. Let me remind you. Our lovemaking was reclaiming, me topping for once. Rare in our dynamic, riding him slow as lightning flashed, his submission a gift that unbound us. See, I gasped, not swelling mutual in our synced heats. Whiskey sharpens the blade. He flipped us after, devouring with renewed fire, vows growled into skin. Dawn plotted revenge. Anonymous tips to regulators, Alara's hackers tracing funds to the rival. Lena's shadowy ex, it turned out, pulling puppet strings for spite. The takedown was surgical, press conference redux, Riley exposing the fraud, Voss shares soaring on ethics wave. Father, from his armchair throne, nodded approval. Knew you had it, son. Summer vacation followed, Hampton's rental, not the family pile, waves lapping as Elias built sandcastles, Riley and I stealing kisses in dunes. But on a sunset walk, he dropped a bomb casual as seashells. Thinking kids plural. Another? For Elias. My heart swelled, hand on his. Yeah, let's make more regret-proof magic. Fall heats confirmed it, me nesting fierce, Riley doting double. Elias, sensing change, patted my belly with sticky fingers. Baby sister? We laughed, but ultrasounds whispered boy, sent budding alpha strong. Challenges mounted. Pregnancy sickness sidelining me. Bar regulars sending care baskets. Riley juggling CEO duties with doctor's runs. One night, contractions teased false. Panic echoing our first scare. Sending us to our in-cab dash, only to laugh relieved at Braxton Hicks. In the quiet aftermath, curled in bed, Riley traced my mark. Scared me, but we'd face it together. Winter birth Theo, screaming arrival on a snowy eve. 8 pounds of thunder, his cry harmonizing Elias's excited babble. Father beamed from the waiting room, Alara snapping pics, the hospital of Voss Harlan hub. Homecoming swelled our home. 2 cribs, double the chaos. Nights of tandem feeds where Riley and I traded yawns and wonders. Lena's final act? A letter, post-scandal. Apologies scrawled shaky, seeking therapy, a quiet exit to California. Riley read it aloud, then burned it in the sink. Past's ash, we're fire. As spring cherry blossomed again, boys tumbling in grass, I leaned on Riley, his arm anchor. Sweet as candy? I teased. He kissed me deep. Sweeter, whiskey eternal. Theo's infancy was a whirlwind of double trouble. Elias, the ringleader at 3, helping with bottles that ended in spills, while Theo's colic wails pierced nights like sirens. Our brownstone pulsed with life. Laundry mountains, toy avalanches, Riley's ties repurposed as spit rags. Yet amid the madness we carved intimacy. Stolen showers steaming with quick knots, breakfasts where his foot hooked mine under table, eyes promising more. 2 alphas in training, he'd muse, bouncing Theo while Elias drove a cardboard truck. Lucky I have my Omega to keep me humble. I'd smirk, pulling him for a kiss that tasted of coffee and forever. Humble? Nah, just hooked. Voss thrived under Riley's steady hand. Expansions into green builds earning eco awards. Father retiring fully to advisory whispers and grandkids spoiling. Alara's promotion to president freed Riley for family focus. Her engagement to a sharp beta lawyer adding Voss sparkle. But cracks spidered subtle. A junior exec's sidelong glances at meetings, murmurs of favoritism for the family man. Riley shrugged them off, but I saw the weight. Alpha pride nicked by doubts of softness. One corporate retreat weekend, he returned drained, suit rumpled from team-building ropes courses. They grilled me on balance, said hearts bleeding the bottom line. I massaged his shoulders that night, scenting reassurance. Bleeding? Try beating stronger for it. Summer heat waves tested us. AC breakdowns leaving the boys fussy. Me waddling through 3rd trimester glow with our surprise 3rd. A girl this time, since hinting floral mischief. Bar shifts cut short by swelling feet. Regulars ribbing. Jax, your Voss's secret weapon. Breeding an army. Laughter masked worry. Scans showed her small, growth lagging. Doctors' talks of monitoring turning Riley's protectiveness feral. Over my dead body. He'd growl at consults, hand vice on mine. We fortified nutritionist meals, walks in cooler eaves, Elias drawing baby sissy pictures to tape on her future crib. Then the rival struck back. Lena's ex, slimy as ever, launching a smear via proxy firm, leaked docs, alleging Voss financial fudges under Riley's watch. Headlines screamed, Heirs House of Cards. Shares dipping, board panic texting. Riley paced our nursery that night, Theo teething on his finger, Elias wide-eyed from bed. It's fabricated, but the damage. I rose, cupping his face. Fight dirty if needed. We've got truth on our side. Dawn brewed coffee strong, me dialing Alara for war council, Her voice steel. Got the forensics team on it. This snake's biting his own tail. The counteroffensive unfolded swift. Audits clearing Voss clean. Countersuits slapping the rival with fraud charges. Press releases framing Riley as the ethical bulwark. But the toll mounted. Sleepless strategy sessions. Riley's eyes hollow. Snapping at Elias over spilled milk one dawn. Guilt crashed him after. Scooping our boy for apologies in the park. Me trailing with Theo in carrier. I'm failing them. He confessed on a bench. Pigeons cooing indifferent. I straddled his lap careful of my bump. Kissing doubt away. Failing? You're forging armor. For all of us. Our makeup was urgent. Hidden in park thickets, his knot quick and claiming. Reclaiming power in my yield. Fall harvest brought harvest of worries. The rival caved, settling out of court. But not before father's old guard whispered resignations, citing instability. Riley called an all-hands at Voss HQ, me surprising him there with boys in tow, turning the boardroom into family hour. Elias presenting a crayon merger, Theo gurgling approval. Laughter thawed frost, resignations retracted, loyalty reaffirmed. See, I whispered post-meeting, his office door locked for a debrief. Desk cleared for my sprawl, his devotions fierce. Heart wins boards too. Labor hit early November. Girl arriving fierce as her brothers, 6 weeks ahead but lungs steel strong. Lila Voss Harlan, 5 pounds of petal soft fury. Her omega sent budding vanilla wild. A nod to candy dreams we transcended. NICU nights blurred anxious. Riley pacing plexiglass. Me pumping milk in rocking chairs. Elias and Theo FaceTiming sissy updates from Alara's watch. Discharge day dawned miracle. Homecoming a parade of balloons. Father toasting tiny glasses of juice. To the Harlan hoard Voss's true legacy. Winter nested us deep. Holidays a cozy fort of lights and lullabies. Lila's first snowflakes melting on her lashes as Riley cradled her window side. But a letter arrived New Year's. Anonymous, postmarked California. Lena's handwriting, tentative olive branch. Saw the news. Proud of you both. Found my sweet elsewhere. Therapy. A quiet alpha who likes the real me. No more shadows. Riley read it to me by firelight, boys slumbering, then folded it gentle. Healing for her too. We burned no more. Instead, replied Grace, closing loops. Spring bloomed fuller. Lila's colic easing to gurgles. Elias starting preschool with backpack bravado. Theo's first words, Dada Jax, melting us. A Voss family retreat to the Cape. Beaches for sandcastles. Nights of stargazing where Riley pulled me from kid chaos for dune whispers. 3, he marveled. Hand on my still flat belly, though we'd paused expanding. Our whiskey symphony. I laughed, nodding fingers. Regrets tune harmonious. As summer sunsets gilded our park picnics, Lila in my arms, boys racing. Riley's gaze met mine across the grass. Love's hook eternal, pulling us through storms to this sweet, scarred shore. Lila's first birthday marked a milestone. Pink frosting smeared across chubby cheeks. Elias directing cake attacks with gleeful anarchy. Theo clapping along in high-chair solidarity. Our brownstone overflowed with kin. Alara and her wife now, wedding bands glinting as they chased toddlers. Father, came forgotten, hoisting Lila for airplane loops that left him winded but grinning. Grandkids, he boomed over candles. Better than any deal. Riley caught my eye across the chaos, mouthing love you. His alpha warmth cutting through the din like a lifeline. Later, as sugar crash snores filled rooms, we collapsed in bed, his body spooning mine, hand tracing hip scars from births and battles. We're a circus, he murmured, lips brushing neck. Best show in town. Voss hummed steady Riley's innovations, affordable artist lofts in Soho, green roofs on legacy towers, earning city acclaim, but whispers evolved. Not sabotage but envy from upstart firms eyeing buyouts. One board dinner, post Lila's party. A slick venture capitalist cornered him. Casual offer over scotch. Buy out Voss, Riley. Cash out. Chase sunsets with the family. Riley's laugh was steel. Sunsets? I build them here. But the seed planted. Late night what-ifs over dishes. His voice low as kids slept. Money's nice, Jax, but freedom. No more wolves at the door. I waited, stirring soup for tomorrow. Your call. But remember, we started in a dive bar. Empire or not, we're home. Summer sweltered with decisions. Beach days dodging jellyfish. Lila's first waves met with squeals. Elias body surfing like a pro. A Voss retreat to the Adirondacks tested waters. Cabin isolation, no signals, just lake swims and fire pit tales. Father joined, fishing poles in hand, sharing stories of Riley's mom. Fierce omega who'd scented like pine, leaving too soon to cancer. She'd love this brood, he said, eyes distant over embers. Riley nodded, arm around me. Like Jack's unbreakable. Confessions flowed that night. Riley admitting buyout temptation for easier life. Me voicing fears of losing our grit. Whiskey waters down without the burn, I said. His not answering deep in sleeping bag shadows, reaffirming roots. Fall brought harvest of resolve. Riley rejecting the buyout publicly, countering with a Voss Foundation launch. Grants for LGBTQ plus youth housing, inspired by my foster ghosts. Launch gala shimmered me in a rare suit. Kids with sitters, Alara emceeing with flair. But midway, an uninvited guest. Lena's ex, slurring toasts from the bar, eyes venom on Riley. Selling out soft? He heckled, glass raised mock. Security moved, but damage sparked. Muttered doubts from donors. Riley took the mic unscripted. Voice thunder. Soft? Try forged in fire. By the Omega who taught me strength smells like whiskey and home. Applause thundered. But backstage he sagged into me. Close call. I kissed him fierce. Handled like the alpha you are. Winter deepened bonds. Holidays amplified. Lila toddling to tree lights. Theo's presence echoing. But a scare hit Christmas Eve. Elias fever spiking post-flu. Tiny body burning as we rushed her. Riley's hand white-knuckled on mine. Hold on, buddy, he whispered, doctors swarming. Bronchitis, treatable, but the vigil cracked us. Nights in hospital cots. Me scenting Elias calm. Riley pacing halls calling Alara for coverage. Dawn discharge brought home fragile. Tree lights twinkling forgiveness. Father arrived unannounced. Bear hugs for the boy. Quiet check for Riley. Proud, son. Family first, always was. Spring renewal whispered changes. Lila's words bubbling Mama Jack's. Melting my Omega heart. Theo's potty victories celebrated with ice cream parades. But bar life tugged. Regulars aging. The rusty anchor facing rent hikes from a gentrifying landlord. Sell? Amused over dinner. Boys crayoning menus. Riley's eyes lit. Or Vosset. Revamp? Keep your soul. We dove in, blueprints blending speakeasy charm with family nooks. Grand opening a block party hybrid. Father pouring first round. Lena even sent flowers, toasting your anchor. All the best. Summer crested with expansions. Third trimester for our fourth? Nah, we paused, adopting instead. A shy beta girl from foster care, 6 and wide-eyed, named Mira after my mom's middle. Home studies, court days blurred joyful terror. Her first daddies? Tentative but true. Elias bossed playdates. Theo shared trucks. Lila babbled welcomes. Riley's buyout rejection rippled gold, Voss valuation soaring. Freedom bought. As fall leaves danced, Myra's hand in mine at park swings. Riley her other, our brood sprawling picnic style. I caught his gaze. Hook strong as ever. Candy Army? He chuckled, kissing temple. Whiskey Legion, sweetest burn. Myra's integration wove new threads into our tapestry. Her quiet sketches adorning fridge doors beside Elias's wild abstracts. Bedtime stories blending Voss tall tales with my Brooklyn grit. At 7, she navigated school with a backpack stuffed unicorns, confiding playground slights to me over hot cocoa. They say I'm not real sister. I'd hug her close, scenting safety. Blood's overrated, kiddo. Family's chosen. Like your dad's chose you. Riley backed it fierce. Alpha protectiveness extending to PDA battles. Volunteering for art fairs where her watercolors won blue ribbons. See? He'd whisper post-win, her beaming between us. Our little regretry maker. Voss evolved too. Foundation grants blooming into safe houses for queer youth. Ribbon cuttings where Riley spoke raw. I chased candy once. Found truth in whiskey. Accolades piled, but so did scrutiny. A federal audit sniffing ethics, triggered by old rival grudges. Nights, Riley poured ledgers, jaw tight. Clean as your bar taps. But, one storm-lashed evening, agents knocked, badges flashing. Combing files while kids huddled movie night in basement. I paced kitchen, Theo on hip, Lila fussing, Elias quizzing Mira on bad guys. Hours later, agents left empty-handed, but Riley emerged ashen. Tip-off bogus, Lena's ex again, from jail. Fury boiled, but we channeled. Lawyers filing harassment suits, Alara's network exposing the puppet master's prison ties. Resolution came swift, restraining orders, media mea culpas. But the scare unearthed Riley's core fear. What if they take the kids? Prove me unfit. Bed that night, post-tucking exhausted littles. I stripped him slow, hands mapping worry lines. Unfit? You're their North Star. Our union healed me yielding full. His not a vow of vigilance. Growls turning gasps of release. Dawn, we rose united. Breakfast a council. We fight smart. Always. Spring unfurled graces. Myra's adoption finality a backyard barbecue. Father grilling with uncharacteristic flair. Alara's twins crawling chaos. Lila's terrible twos tantrums met with Riley's patient songs. Theo's alphabet mastery earning park parades. Bar thrived post-revamp, neon Harlan's hold glowing, family corner booths hosting story hours for neighborhood kids. One slow shift, a young Omega slid stoolside, eyes haunted like my youth's mirror. Heard your story, he mumbled, ordering soda. Scared to tell my alpha. I poured wisdom neat. Fear's the real chain. Break it. You'll find your whiskey match. Summer solstice brought crossroads. Riley offered CEO step back, Alara ready to helm, eyeing sabbatical for us. Travel? He proposed over beach bonfire, Little's roasting marshmallows gooey. Show them worlds bigger than Manhattan. I leaned into him, waves whispering yes. Road trip, Route 66, dive bars to desserts. Plans sparked. RV rental, school breaks synced, father babysitting rotations with gruff enthusiasm. But autumn audit echoes lingered. A whistleblower email, anonymous, hinting internal leak. Riley dug discreet, tracing to a disgruntled exec with Lena ties. Confrontation brewed boardroom tense, but truth prevailed. Resignation, no scandal. Clean win, Riley exhaled post-meeting, scooping me spin in lobby. Home, celebration not in shower steam, water cascading as I claimed him rare. His submission a trust testament. Winter holidays peak joy. 8 under one roof now, with Alara's crew, tree trimming wars ending tickle piles. Myra's letter to Santa. World peace and more family. New Year's Eve, kids Abed. Riley pulled me roof deck, city fireworks blooming. 10 years since that rainy night, he murmured. Ring glinting vows renewed simple bands. Best regret ever. Kiss deepened, hands wandering under coats, heat building, till we tumbled inside, nodding on rug to clock strikes. Spring bloom travels, RV rumbling west, Grand Canyon sunsets with Little's odd, dive bar stops where I slung guest pours, Riley charming locals. Mira journaled sketches, Elias collected rocks, Theo named stars, Lila babbled canyons. One desert night, campfire crackling, Riley drew me aside. This us wandering free, whiskey wanderlust. I nodded, heart full. Sweetest path. As summer circled home, brood tanned and tail rich, our brownstone welcomed weary. Bed a tangle of limbs and loves, regrets refined to gold. In every storm weathered, we'd found the human core. Love's not flawless facade, but fierce choice. Candy-craving alpha tamed by whiskey soul, birthing a legacy of unyielding sweet.